It is a terrible thing when brother takes up arms against brother. The lands in the south run red with the blood of kings and their kin, whilst to the north the winds carry the bitter chill of war. Winter is coming, say the Starks, but they say nothing of the tempest that already dwells within their lands, a storm centuries in the making. Summer will end soon enough, and childhood as well. A sister lost, a brother returned, a family changed. In a time of turmoil, can they trust their allies? Can they trust their family? The North remembers, and the children of House Braddock cannot forget.
So gorgeous.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the new season on Encounter Roleplay. I am a real hype to have our show be the premiere for the kickoff of the season. So welcome to For the North, which is a Song of Ice and Fire Sword Chronicle RPG. But before we get started today, there's a couple of things we do need to talk about. Just want to give a huge shout out to anyone who is watching us on YouTube today. And if you do, please leave us a comment. We need a rallying cry, I think. Leave us a For the North in chat in the comments. But there isn't just us on today. We have two more shows. After this show, we have Rest in Pieces straight after us, which is, I think Charlie described it as Avenue Q, because we've got the good folks at Perception Studios joining us for that show. So it should be a ton of fun. They are a great bunch. I've played with them on another game, and they're super entertaining, so please just stick around for that. And then following that show, because we bring you that good content, we've got Song of the Deep, which is sponsored by Frosthaven, and that sounds really exciting. I've been seeing some rumblings about that show in the Discord, so please stick around for that too, and show your support to those lovely folks. But yeah, so I'm very excited today to begin our show. But before I do, I think we should just maybe go around and see some of these faces, because some of these folks you may not have seen around often. So we'll start clockwise from me, which is we go to the lovely Johnny Blams. Hi, Johnny Blams.
Hello. How are we doing? Well, how
Doing
are you doing? I mean,
good.
we're here.
Yeah.
I'm ecstatic. This has definitely been one of the most ecstatic I've been to play with a group. I feel we've had so much anticipation, so much build up, so much theory crafting of our characters, our backstories. So I'm just really pumped to get into this today. I think it's gonna be great.
Hype. And who are you playing today?
I'm playing Brendan Braddock, and he is the older twin of the Braddock twins, but we are the youngest duo, four of us, or what was the four of us. Brendan is a character that I picture you can find in one of two places. He's either in the yard, meticulously training with his bow. Typically, if you walk out into the yard, you could see him shooting about 100 arrows into a heavily armored dummy. And if he's not out in the yard training, you can find him by the side of his lovely friend and mentor, replacement older brother type guy, Maester Nymor. Brandon's a character that has a really big thirst for knowledge, and he's definitely one of the most curious Northerners you ever met. I don't want to talk about him too much, but that's what I'll give you the tidbit for now.
Sweet. And you said replacement older brother, and your brother's right there, man. But we will get to him in just a second. Shauna, welcome back to Game of Thrones. It is weird to be sat on this side of the virtual table across from you. Hopefully, I won't get you betrayed and executed for treason this season.
I mean, there's still episodes. I mean, just a nice push off the stairs. Like she's not Adeline. I'm not a bow person. I am Riona, the youngest Braddock, the younger twin to Brendan, who shares his thirst for knowledge, but did not have his luck. She was hit with a childhood disease and never recovered, and has been basically living in the castle her entire life. She hasn't been out ever since she became ill as a child.
Well, I'm very excited and interested to see where Riona goes, because we've been DMing. But I just want to shout out here one from Paladin Hulk in chat. Thank you so much for those bits. That is one additional test die to go to the lovely Lyneth, played by Prax. But, hey, Bill.
Hey, how's it going? Pretty stoked. I'm playing Lord Brolin Braddock, the older brother to Brendan and husband of Lyneth, also the older brother to Riona. There's a lot of relations here. It's a pretty tight-knit crew. How's that going to pan out? I don't know. Guess we'll have to see to find out. But Brolin is a fairly stoic individual who has been thrust into a rough position. So we'll see how that pans out.
Well, the lovely other half to Brolin is Lyneth. Hi, Prax. How you doing? How's it going?
I am doing well, thank you. This time I'm not trying to kill you. It's great, and I get to hang out with you guys more. I love hanging out with all of you.
Hang on a second. Where did this kill me business? I knew it. So anyway, would you like to tell us a little bit about Lyneth?
Lyneth Tyrell Braddock is the youngest sister of Lord Leo Tyrell, and married Brolin Braddock, and was a very political marriage, but they are actually quite happy. They've found their happy love, mostly, for the Game of Thrones. Let's call it that way. And she's getting used to living in the north. It'll be interesting.
I'm sorry, I contractually have to do this for another show I'm in, but hashtag fuck the Tyrells. So anyway, hey, speaking of someone from another family who I, Susanna Grace, hate on a visceral level, hi, Trooper.
I thought you were going to say something else. I just thought you were going to sort of mention something about having affairs with Tyrells. But I'm Trooper SJP, and I'm so happy to be here. I am playing Maester Namor, who is a Dornishman, a Martell. Although once you're a Maester, you don't really have a last name anymore. But we all know. And maybe it is possible that I may have had sex with some Martells at some point in time. Like that is a possibility. It's possible. It's possible.
You had sex with Martells?
Tyrells. Sorry, Tyrells. That's what I meant. They're both in the South. They both make wine. They're very. It's easy to confuse them.
It's Game of Thrones. It all makes sense.
We're getting a little Lannister in here. Anyway.
No Lannister. And I'm the Maester for the House of Braddock. I come from Dorne. I am a Martell, or I was a Martell before I got my chains. And I am young, about 25, the same age as Brolin. We're the same age. And happy to be here in the Braddock lands, even though it's cold and the wine is not as good. And people are a little bit insular. And it's not really as cosmopolitan as either Dorne or Old Town. But nonetheless, there are a lot of very cool things in this area. And you would normally find me either tutoring the twins in the keep itself, or actually traveling about with them through the countryside. Well, not with both of them, because Riona cannot travel, but with Brendan, traveling the countryside, learning stories and old wives' tales and myths of the area, because this area is very old and very fascinating. And one day maybe we can talk about all the different things you can learn in this space. It's pretty amazing.
Sweet. Well, Now we've met our family. We're going to meet them in the world. But before we do, we see a small, meager campsite nestled amidst heavy snows. You see 3 men hunked over it. They're wearing heavy, dark, woolen clothes pulled tight over their bodies as they shelter for warmth. They have hoods that they have drawn up, but we see them from below, from the perspective of the campfire, lighting their faces as they warm their hands. And their faces are cast in heavy shadows, but they seem to be amidst a very tense conversation. You hear one of them say, "Things aren't going well with the Skagosi. They're encroaching. They've taken towns. But where the fuck are the Starks? You know, they're supposed to be wardens of the fucking north. They're watching us getting pile drive. Like, we're getting destroyed by these fucking bastards. Where are they?" And swear words that are not polite to present in company. And there are grumbles of acknowledgement and agreement within these men. And you see one of them lean forward. It's fucking bollocks, this. It's fucking bollocks. Where are they? You know, they call on us whenever they've got a petty squabble somewhere, but when we need them, where are they? And they are getting angry and heated. And one of them leans forward. He's been very quiet the whole time. "Someone needs to do something. Someone needs to show them. You know, there's tons of better people here that could do a better job. You know, there's a Lord Bolton. He could take over. Well, even Barthagen's brother, Brandon, he could do a better job. I mean, he's been out there. You know, he's been ranging. Someone needs to do something." And there again is conspiratorial looks amongst them, and the conversation continues amongst them as the camera pans out and you see them on the edge of a battlefield surrounded by bodies. But our family, you see in a very solemn procession. You are headed to the western coast, to Ragnar's Light, to the fossilized tree in the bay. There is a very sad duty that you must perform today. And your horses, and I imagine there's a small carriage that's been prepared for Riona and Lyneth that takes them as you arrive on the edge of the ceremonial area. I will hand over the scene to the Lord Brolin. What are you doing here as you arrive at the head of this procession?
Ensure that everything is set up, and if everything is not set up the way it should be, the way it has been stated in tradition, he will take the efforts himself to ensure that that is done.
Okay, so you have a word with the servants and the people around you that have basically prepared this for you. Given where you are in the world, burials are not super common as the earth is most often frozen. So a grave is not really an option. But you do see constructed a very fine pyre in which your mother's body has been already laid out and prepared.
Brolin would then journey to the pyre, and in like a moment of solace before the ceremonies get started, he like crosses his arms in front of him and looks down, and you see his face is stone, and he's processing.
And she looks peaceful as she's laid there. It is almost like she's asleep. But you can see on her face the lines of age and worry. And she has that tough northern look to her, being a Mormont. You know, she was bred and born hardy, and you can see that reflected in her face. But right now, looking at her, she's a frail old lady. You know, she's not the woman you remembered as a child.
He'll just continue to process and stand up there by himself until something happens or someone joins him.
Any of you at any point feel free to interject with what your character would like to do. I like to give you guys as much agency as you like in a scene, so please go ahead.
I think Brendan would realize kind of what his brother is going through because he's going through a similar thing, if not even more extreme, because him and his mother have been close throughout these last couple years, and he'll approach Brolin from behind him and kind of just step up beside him and give him enough space to process, but enough space to also say, like, hey, I get it. She didn't always look like this.
Oh. She was a moment. She looks strong breathing.
Aye.
What now?
I can't say I know, brother. But I know this. We've got a lot of work to do.
And he silently processes that statement, and he kind of shifts into like a broader, more defensive stance, crosses his arms up higher on his chest, and looks at him, and just grunts.
A resplendent offering.
Looks down at the makeshift pyre, kind of just waiting.
I think Brendan would, being the more anxious of the two brothers, say, well, us standing here being sad ain't gonna bring it back to life, so say your goodbyes and let's get on with it.
I will. How did the ride treat Riona?
Better than most, I'd say. She's here, ain't she?
Yep. Is everyone in their place? Can we get started?
I think so.
Just as you say that, and Brendan says, I think so, you hear a small contingent of horses arrive, and you can see the banners of House Mormont flying. And you can see a very tall, broad woman whose shoulders seem to be a little stooped today, climb down off her horse, and with her behind three younger men. And you recognize this as your aunt. This is Aunt Sana of House Mormont. She has come to pay respects to her sister. And she is dressed in dark clothing. She has a big dark black sort of cape over her shoulders. And the men behind her, you can tell, are her cousins, her sons, your cousins. And they quietly take a place. She gives you like a very solemn nod, Brolin, as she sees you. But she comes up and very gently takes her sister's hand and squeezes it. Brolin. Brendan. Good to see you, lads.
Wish she was on better terms.
Yeah, me too. And you can see she's on the verge of tears, but she's trying very hard to suppress them. And she leans down and kisses her sister's forehead, and you hear her very quietly say, "Here we stand."
And I think at that, Lyneth has gotten out of the carriage and has kind of quietly made her way up to Brolin's other side, the other side from Brynden, and kind of almost slides. She's shorter than Brolin, significantly. And her hair is red and kind of stands out in this crowd of dark blacks and browns from the north, in this long kind of dark mahogany red. And she just slides her hand almost into Brolin, but within like the sleeve of her long draping sleeves of her dress and the cape that she's wearing, offering him comfort from her, but at the same time making sure that there's nothing untoward seen by anyone else, keeping it more of a private moment for the two of them.
And I think the second Brolin would feel her presence, the parts of him that she touched would physically relax, and you could hear like an exhale of relaxation in that moment. Where's my sister?
She's coming. The Maester is escorting her.
Does she need
She's
any
well.
help?
No. She is well. Your concern is noted, but unnecessary at the moment. Are you well?
I'll carry on.
I think there's this moment of not quite a smile because it's not appropriate and it's not really the right thing, but there's just like this hint of amusement as he says that in her face.
Okay. So as you share this quiet moment, we cut to Riona and Nymor.
All right, I think I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yes. The carriage ride was longer than... But I think I'm okay. Don't want to keep them waiting. Regret taking
No.
me. Certainly.
No. You know, this is your first time here. It is a solemn occasion, but I hope that in this moment, seeing the salt tree for the first time will be something meaningful for you. I know it was difficult that you could not come the other times.
I'm pretty sure everyone thought I'd be the first to come here, but it'd be nice to see it and say goodbye to the family. Say goodbye to her.
I'm sorry
All
that you
right.
could not be here for a wedding. Come.
Yes. Maybe
Put up my arm.
she will like hook her arm around and she'll get up on, but she'll kind of follow Nymor.
And
And as
I
she-
lead her out of the carriage, make sure that she has support as she's stepping down.
Yeah, she's trying to stand as straight as she can. Just kind of have that as stoic expression as she can muster at this moment. The ride did take a lot of her. This is her first major carriage, and it has been multiple days. So she's held up as well as she could.
3 days.
But still tired. Still kind of they've kind of put her together, put her hair up, but she still looks like someone that this has been an ordeal. And as she gets out, there is multiple expressions on her. The nervousness, the sadness, but a little bit of the curiosity as she looks. She's the last 4 times that the family has gone. She has been left behind. And this is the first time she's been here. So she will kind of have a closer grip on her sleeve and just look around and make her way next to Brendan.
And as the two of them walk before they get to the pyre, he would say, I know it is not my place, but your mother was very kind to me and made me feel welcome when I first came here, and that was something that I will never forget. And she was in her own way special to me as well, and so I cannot understand the depth of your loss, Riona, Lady Braddock, but I do feel a piece of it.
She'll give you kind of like a sad smile and then just kind of grip your hand as she makes her way to Brendan's side and just hold his hand.
And
just
I
kind of put her head
step
on his shoulder.
just a few steps back from the family, so I'm just outside of the circle, but in a space where I can see the mother, Lady Braddock, in repose.
And so you have this quiet moment of the family gathered, and much like Naimor, Sana's sons, your cousins have also taken a step back. It is immediate family around the pyre. And this, to set the scene here, there's the beautiful fossilized salt tree, which the pyre is set in front of, including the two figures of the ancestors of the Braddock family that were frozen in time, crystallized in a blast of dragon fire. And as the sky is beginning to darken, a soft snow is falling and creating that silence, that snowy silence here. And there isn't even, the whisper of wind. It is you, your mother, and the old gods here. And being an old god ceremony, there is no priest, there is no one to orate. But a man-at-arms steps forward and hands you a lit torch, Brolin.
Brolin receives the torch and looks around at the immediate family surrounding him. Takes a big breath. Approaches the pyre, puts his left hand on his mother's forearm, looks at her admirably, and then sticks the torch in the lower end of the pyre. And as the fire starts spreading, he holds her arm as long as he can, and then lets the torch go and steps away. Like the torch would have been wedged in the...
Mm-hmm. And as the pyre begins to really burn in earnest, it is quiet. But you begin to hear one of the Mormont cousins sing something softly, and it is a sad song. It is a lament. But you would know this purely from just being descended of Mormons. This is just something that they do within their family. It is their way to send off the spirit of their loved one to wherever it is they're going. But they go with a song, with the hearts and the tragedy of the family they leave behind. And you can see at this point that your aunt is crying, but she's trying to compose herself. She's trying not to show it. She's not racking sobs, but there is tears falling down her face as she watches her sister.
I think once the flames become high enough that the singing starts and she gets one last glimpse of her mother. I think Riona she's been keeping this stoic expression on her, just looking at it. But it finally hits her, and almost uncontrollably, she just starts just crying. And I think she buries her face in her brother's cloak. And if no one else is in, but she doesn't care. This is her mother.
I bow my head, but the entire time, while I reflect on this moment of loss, I cannot help but to note the song, and I memorize it, every note and every word.
Yeah, and it is a hauntingly tragic performance. This is beautiful. This is something that people would pay a mama a lot for a performance, and it kind of takes you by surprise as Sana's sons, as far as you remember from growing up as kids, were all just a bunch of fucking meatheads. You had no idea that this guy had that set of pipes on him. But just to break it 1 second here, we hit our goal, which means that one of you fine folks get a bonus test die. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a d5 with Johnny being 1 and Trooper being 5, and we'll see who gets it. So thank you so much for those retweets, friends, but please do keep retweeting the tweet so we can get the word out and show everyone how good this freaking show is, because I'm pumped. All right, that's a 2. Riona, Shauna, you get a bonus test die, so congratulations. Please use it to break our hearts and faces. Okay, so unless there's anything anyone would like to do or say in this moment, I will move the scene along a little bit.
After the song happens, there's like sufficient amount of silence as the pyre's burning. Brolin would continue to stand there as the fires die down. Maybe some people would leave, maybe everyone would stay, but he's not really paying attention to any of that. He turns around to address whomever has continued as shrink. Duty and strength. 2 qualities in a balance that Agatha portrayed beautifully. The more duty you gain, the stronger you must become. The wider your shoulders must be to carry the burden. I know a lot of strong people. But her shoulders, and he'll reference his mother, were the widest and the strongest. An honor. It was an honor to be your son. And then he'll turn around and gaze at the pyre.
I think Brennan would take this moment to
go ahead,
take Riona's hand, as I assume she's still sobbing, and kind of whisper in his cloak and say, "We have to say goodbye. This is the last chance we get." And he kind of begrudgingly moves her forward slowly, and he looks
nod
and
put herself together again. Yes. So what do we do now?
I say we say our thanks. And he looks down at his pretty flame engulfed mother at this point and says, "Thank you for everything. You weren't the kindest of mothers, but we know you loved us. Riona knows you loved her." thank you for keeping her safe for all these years, Mother. I will take upon this task myself now. I love you. And then I'll wait for Rihanna to say, or if she can muster up anything to say in her disheveled state.
No, I think she'll stand and she'll look. I was lucky to have you as a mother. I'm here because of you. You were gracious enough to... I wasn't what you were expecting, but I know you love me, and... Goodbye. I thought it would be here for you. She'll step back.
All right. So as you all make your final goodbyes, the snow begins to fall heavier, and you are sort of gently ushered away from the site of the salt tree now into the long sort of feast hall that is nearby. Usually a happy place for ceremony. This is usually where you have your birthday parties, this is where you have your wedding celebrations. But sometimes it must take on a more solemn purpose. And this is where you will drink and feast in her memory, and where you will also stay the day, because it's a 3-day travel from Greenwall Keep to the Salt Tree, and you've all been through a lot. So you're sort of gently ushered by your house servants, your house people, like, it's time to move, in the very pleasant, quiet, unassuming way that they do so. But there is a roaring fire in the middle of this. It's very much like, I imagine, like a big, like, Viking long hall, right? With the big hearth in the middle, with benches, furs. There is a seat here for the Lord to take at the very end of the room, which is, bedecked in furs and antlers and all the other kind of really cool, like, old god decorations. But there is already quite a few people in here, and you can smell the roasting meats, the vegetables, you can smell the ale that has already been poured. They've got the casks open and ready. And there are a few people here that are not immediate family, but are important. You've got your higher household people here. There are people that knew your mother. Mormont retinue are here, other Mormont people, other ones from the houses nearby that have sent people to, for their regards from the other houses close by.
Nymor would have waited until the family has left the pyre so that he could say goodbye when it was appropriate, because it wouldn't be appropriate to take time from them. And he would just wait as they sort of go into the long hall, and he would just say to her, he would step a little bit closer and he would say, Lady Braddock, my mother died in childbirth with me, and my father not long after, so in some ways, I was an orphan, in my own way. And this was, I think, the first time that someone made me feel like family and not a tool to be used. So, thank you. And I will do my best to keep all of the plans and hopes and dreams that you had for your house and your children. I will do my best to advise them and to keep them as safe as they can be kept, and make you proud in my own way as best I can. in thank you. And just sort of give her a quiet prayer as I make my way back into the long hall.
All right. So you are greeted very warmly by everyone. It's that kind of wake atmosphere, you know, where everyone's really sad and exhausted, but you're trying to make the best of it, you know. And a lot of people you haven't seen in a long time. There's Glovers here, you know. There's a Mandalay has made it across. You know, there's a lot of people here that you have not seen, including, you know, your aunt and your cousins. And everyone at the minute is just kind of very just processing through everything. It's that moment when everyone's starting to get the drink and a bit of food, and they're just taking these quiet moments to just reorient themselves and relax a little.
Brolin would take his seat and wait for everyone else to get seated at this table, and just casually sipping whatever's in his cup. He's not particularly paying attention. Swirling it around.
Mm-hmm. It's a strong, hearty ale, a fortified ale. So, you know, it's Guinness adjacent, Westerosi Guinness that you have been given. And you can see, like, throughout this whole, there's quiet conversations happening. But taking the cue from you, everyone sort of takes a seat and grabs a drink.
I'm going to note the people who have arrived, who are here in support, and who is not. I want to note every house, which houses have sent representatives and which have not. Also, specifically, I'm looking for which of the eastern, northern houses are present. Also, if there's a Stark representative, I'm interested. But also, I'm interested in if the Flints have sent someone since the betrothal was called off. I'm interested to see if the Flints have sent a representative as well. I take note. I take stock.
Okay, so you would know that the Starks basically sent our condolences, Raven, but they have sent no person. They have sent no in-person representative. You have heard nothing from the Flints, not even a "sorry, your mom died" letter. There is absolutely nothing. There is a minor, we're talking like extremely minor bolt that has come, like one of the, like a cousin, not even a branch, not even a main Bolton, but one of the cousins. The Mandalays have sent their youngest son. He is a young man of about 17 years old. And he is accompanied. He has men with him as a chaperone, but he is on his own. The Glovers have come, and most of the Glover family have actually come. They are neighbors, and they have had a not an off-close relationship with the family, but it's more of a neighborly thing. The Glovers have come. The Caswells have sent someone from just across the Rills. But notably, no Starks, no Karstarks, and no freak. What are they called from the last Hearth? Brain. The family at the last Hearth.
The Umbers.
Umbers. There's no Umber. But you do know, and you would know this in particular, Nymor, that there have been raids from the Scargosi, and the Isle of Scargos is not that far away from the last Hearth. So you assume, and it's safe to assume, that the Umbers are kind of got their hands full at the minute. So probably can't spare anyone to come. But they did at least send a condolences raven. There is notably no one else. It's only northern houses here. None of the Riverlands or south have sent anyone. There's a brother of the Black Watch here, of the Night's Watch here too. More as a sort of like he's on his way through. and he kind of makes, he kind of, you know, when you sort of arrive at an event where you're not really supposed to be here, but you kind of need to show your face. So he's kind of like on the edge, not actively recruiting, but he's kind of there and noticeable as he's dressed all in black, as the brothers are.
And the Banner House are, of course, present.
Yes. Of course, the Banner House have shown. As they should. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a Banner House.
Well, if they don't show up, then we need to know.
Of course.
And I think Lenath is moving through the room and playing hostess, she let Brolin go in front of her and sit first, but she's taking her time, making her way across the room, greeting everyone as is appropriate. She makes a point of stopping and greeting the young Manderley politely and with kindness, and also greets the Bolton cousin in a way that could kind of give the impression, I'm being nicer, and that's an insult to who you're supposed to be representing because I'm showing you up, kind of way.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's like making sure that she's also making sure she greets by name any of the important men-at-arms that serve the House Braddock. She makes a point of knowing all of the servants by name, even if they're not always at Greenwall Keep, if they're here at the Salt Tree or at Saltwood Town. You know, she makes a point of knowing who everyone is as she does, and kind of slowly wakes her way to the front table, sitting at her husband's right to let Brynden sit at his left.
Okay.
And she doesn't drink any, she slides the glass of ale away from her as she sits down.
And as you do so, your lady's maid, Winifred, she says, do you want anything else, milady? Can I prepare the tea for you?
Tea would be very pleasant. Thank you very much, of course.
Of course. And she gives you a very deep bow. And she's got a kind of like semi-concerned look on her face. You know, when someone's like, you good, but not outwardly saying it. You know, she's giving you like the mum eyes when they know there's something going on, but they don't say it. She's an older lady. She's probably in her late 30s. And she scurries off to prepare the tea for you. And before long, you're brought this lovely warm mug of tea, and it's steaming. And because of the weather outside, how cold it is, holding it in your hands is just, it's that perfect warming balm to, you know, your body and soul, if we're going to get artsy about it. So, Brolin, everyone has kind of grabbed their drink and they're looking to you.
He'll take his mug of ale, a toast, and then offer it out there. He won't say anything else. He'll see who raises the glass and who doesn't raise their glasses.
Mm-hmm. And they raise it, and Sana stands, actually, because everybody was kind of seated, but she stands, and she looks at you, Brolin, and there's a sort of like a question in her eyes. She looks at you, as if to say, can I do this?
Brolin would like gesture with his hand.
Here she stood, Agatha Mormont. And she raises her cup.
Agatha Mormont.
And there is a chorus of Agatha Mormont as everyone repeats her name. And there's Sana basically downs her drink in one go. And there's a moment where everyone kind of takes their pause after the toast. And then Sana wipes the beer from her mouth and says, right, enough of being so fucking maudlin, eh? Who's got some stories? and the atmosphere sort of perks up a little bit around, and people start chatting a bit more freely at this point. And there's that bubble of conversation.
Brolin would, well, I'd love to hear a story from you.
From me?
You initiated it. I'm sure you've got plenty.
All right. Did I ever tell you about the tournament I was in when I was 19?
The floor is yours.
Nymar knows
And
all
she's
stories and remembers them all.
She takes great pride in being like at the center of attention for a minute. You haven't really had a lot of contact with your aunt, especially you, Brolin, considering everything. But your aunt is known, or at least your mother told you that she was a bit of a raconteur in her time. She was a little bit of a troublemaker, and she would get in places that she was not supposed to be and do things she wasn't necessarily supposed to do. And she stood here like 1 foot up on a stool in front of this fire with her voice just booming out across the hall, telling you about this grand tournament she participated in. She would participate in disguise, and she explains in extreme detail this armor she had crafted for this bare head with the fangs that came down and caressed the side of her face, and how she showboated to the crowd, and how every woman in that crowd had a rose from her, because that's just how the Fang of Bear Island was back then. And she's like, I was the Fang. I was in all of Westeros. I have never been unhorsed in combat. And she is like telling this whole tale. And she gets to the end, and she's like, and this one Dornish bastard, he rode like nothing I've ever seen. And in that final tilt, our eyes were fixed on one another. We were both determined the other was going to fall. I mean, of course, I unhorsed him, and I was never unhorsed, so I mean, I technically won. But then that tricky Dornish bastard called for his halberd and brought it to the ground. Well, I've never seen anything like it. It was like a fucking whirlwind, that bastard was. And she's going on and on and on about this fight. Don't know what they called him. Something Wolf, I think, but he was, yeah, it was a good one. That was a good tournament. Those were good days. And she's been lost in the reminiscence at this point. It's like an old war story, right? She's gone in her glory days at this point. But she is smiling as she's telling this story. She's saying, when your mother found out what I'd done, she was fucking fuming. She sent me the angriest raven I have ever had in my life. I tell you, I didn't come up north for 6 years after that. I didn't. Your mother, whew. She's a good one.
Brolin kind of smiles, and you can see the tension on his face ease a little bit, and he takes a sip of his cup. I love stories like that. Brings a smile to my face. It's good to know. And then he kind of purses his eyebrows a little bit. That Agatha was born a moment and died a Braddock. And then shifts his position and straightens out his shoulders a little bit and takes a slightly more advanced chair.
Mm-hmm.
To Agatha Braddock.
Agatha Braddock.
Next.
Well, I told the story. You got one from me. About you, Brolin. Go on.
I'll take my turn at the end.
All right, then. And Sana sort of turns and challenges the whole hall. Who else has got a story? Come on. I could go all night, and you don't want to hear me go all night.
We've got the time. And he smiles gently.
You bastards. All right. And then she sort of launches into another story, and it's very similar. And she kind of like starts slipping stuff in there as the ale is getting a little more flowing, and she's had more and more mugs handed to her. She's letting stuff slip about the time like she snuck into a certain lady's tent and stuff like that. Like some salacious stuff is coming out, and you are like, whoa, like she's getting in there. But while this is happening, you can see Lyneth, that the young Lord Manderley is he's trying to do it cautiously, but he's looking at you, he's looking at Brolin, and he's looking at Riona, and he's trying to like do it really, he seems very nervous, but he's kind of eyeing all three of you up.
I think Lyneth just kind of slightly leans. So I'm thinking about how this would be set up. Like, technically, Riona would be seated on Lyneth's right. She'd kind of lean over and, like, very quietly mutter, looking at Riona. It's like, well, you have an admirer, sister.
Oh, it's not kind to jest about that sort of thing. But Twan.
Oh, do I ever jest? Have you been introduced to the young Lord Manderley yet?
I was planning on making the rounds once the story time was over. Everyone seems captivated, so I'll have to make good hosts for all that come here.
Yeah. Well then, I think, well, we should let him come and meet you then. Brolin,
Good.
have you, and she like literally just turns and half turns. Brolin, have you met the young Lord Manderley? I really think you should. He's a very charming young gentleman. Just about the same age as Riona.
Riona is turning bright red. She's had a little bit, but she is just kind of like...
Brolin smiles, like looks down at the table.
There's plenty of time for that.
Of course. But he seems to have a quite fondness for her.
What
And
was
he
this
at least
saying?
came- Well,
Patience
he can...
makes the heart grow fonder? Something like that.
I don't know, did patience make your heart grow fonder for me? She just kind of whispers that in his ear.
What patience was there to speak of?
Exactly. And he at least came to your mother's funeral, not like that horrible Flint boy.
Did we invite him?
Yes, we had to invite him. Well, we had to invite the Flints as a whole.
Did they say that they weren't coming?
They didn't say anything.
And he kind of like is digging in his head.
Which Flints?
The ones that decided your sister wasn't good enough for them.
Well,
The ones we don't like.
you don't hear tales about them in battle.
Definitely not.
They started small and they'll die small. She's better off. She deserves
Very
someone with
true.
courage. Someone with character. Whose turn is it for story?
I have a story. It is a story from your ancestor Ok the Seer the Younger. and this was one of the ones I found in my travels. It's very short, but perhaps it was, I think, one of his earlier prophecies, and so it may be then more relevant to this moment. It was that in the age when the mother bear finds the lost sea wolf in other lands, the wheels have begun turning that will bring fire and salt and blood across the north. But the green, the word they used was mountain, but I don't think that's how translated from the old tongue. I think rather than mountain, I might translate this more to not green mountain, but I think perhaps could be green wall or green keep. It's unclear how exactly one would translate this from the old tongue into the common tongue. There are different theories about how one would translate this word. It's not. There is debates about this in the circles where they discuss the old tongue, because, as you know, the old tongue was never written down in so many words. So, as oral tradition, there are different. Anyway, yes, that bring fire, salt, and blood across the north, and that the green wall would not wither, though it would be challenged. That was the prophecy that I thought would be.
Thank you.
Brendan
Nice
kind of
to-
realizes like Nymor is like going off in like his own little like nerdy realm when this is supposed to be like a time of like cheering everyone up and bringing the vibe back up to more conversational. And he's like, well, I could tell a story. And he kind of like awkwardly shambles up and he said, well, I remember when me and Riona were about 10 and Mother had us practicing our lessons. And I said, well, Mother, I don't really like reading. I prefer to use my bow. And she said, well, I'll make you a bet. If you can hit this apple out of the air, I will make you an apple pie. And I said, sure, Mother. We went out to the yard, and lo and behold, Mother throws this apple high into the sky. I take out my bow. Miss. She says, that's all right. Throws the apple again. I aim up. Miss. Started disheartened and saddened by the lack of pie that I will be consuming later on, according to our bet. And Mother turns to me and says, Brendan, your father always preaches that there are two things that a great archer should be: persistent and patient. And I think that is something we could all take away from today. Be patient and be consistent. And I'll keep those words living with me as long as I live. And then he sits back down.
I think
there's a
Riona-
cheer that goes up.
I think Riona will quietly think, well, she certainly had a lot of patience. You're out there for well over an hour.
Brolin will laugh loudly. Anyone else?
While you guys are having this lovely little family moment, you can see Lyneth, the young Lord Manderley, is edging his way ever so slightly closer, and you can see him holding on to this like mug of ale like it's the only thing keeping him on this earth. You can see it slightly shaking in his hands as he's incredibly nervous. But he approaches nonetheless, and you can see he's a young man. He's got this sort of like dirty brown hair, but very bright, shining eyes as he looks up at you. Like a hint of scruff on his cheek. You know when teenage boys get their first little scruff, and they're like, "Yeah, this is definitely going to be a beard," and it's not. But he's clinging to it so desperately. He's very nicely dressed, and he bows to you and goes, "My lady, Braddock.
I am I'm Lord Roland Manderley. Thank you for inviting my family. I am and he's like, I'm sorry that it's such a sad occasion. But I wish that it could have been a happier one. And he's not looking at you as he's saying this, as he's trying to focus so hard on saying the right thing.
So, is he talking to me or Riona?
Yes. Sorry, he's talking to Lynette. I said Lady Braddock, and I forgot there was two of you. I'm sorry.
I was like, I thought that's who that was going on, and he's like, well, it's very kind of you to come, Lord Manderley. Have you been introduced to my charming good sister, Riona? Riona, this is Lord Roland Manderley.
There's like a
Pleasant
little
to meet
hint of blush at his cheek as he again bows very deeply. My lady.
I hope the trip, it's quite a long trip. I hope the trip from White Harbor was pleasant. I'm glad you can make it.
And he takes a second before he responds in the very polite way in which you know that someone's about to lie their ass off. He says, yes, my lady, it was very pleasant. It's beautiful out here. The mountains and the woods are really something to behold.
I mean, this, well, it certainly isn't as nice. I've heard stories about the view of the sea, but
And he
glad
looks
you're
up at
here.
you and he smiles very warmly. White Harbor is beautiful. You should come see it sometime. Really, honestly, it's lovely, and you see all sorts of people from everywhere. And he's getting a little bit excited about White Harbor. Sorry.
Oh no, don't.
Sorry. Has anyone volunteered to tell a story in the meantime as this change is happening?
Yeah, there's a couple of fill-in stories. A couple of your cousins have stepped up and they're telling stories. Your eldest cousin, Eric, who is Sana's eldest son, is bragging about the time he fought a bear. With no weapons, he wrestled this bear, and he's like, "This is the very bear," like he's pointing to the pelt on his coat, and he's like, "This is the one. I killed it with my bare hands." And his brothers are like, "You wanker! No, you didn't. We were there. You saw it. Like, what are you talking about?" And they're heckling each other as he's telling this story, but he's like there, like feigning, like doing the motions of wrestling this bear. He grabs one of his brothers and they do like a kind of thing. It's getting rowdy in here now.
As this is going on, he'll wait to see where the conversation with Riona and Roland is going. And then if he can find a breath in the middle of it, he would stand and administer his story.
Yeah, for sure. So you look across to Riona and Lynette talking to young Lord Manderley, and you just get the vibe from looking at him that they are exchanging pleasantries. They're having like a quiet, pleasant conversation. Like, they're trying to do that small talk thing. Like, what's it like where you're from? What's it like here? What would you like to do? And he's talking about, he's very interested in speaking to your maester, as he is very interested in knowledge, and he wonders what it was like in the Citadel, as he was almost a maester, before he was his father decided otherwise. But he's intensely curious. So they're having this like little conversation going on, and your cousins have kind of been like pulled back down into their seat by their mother, and she's like, she clips them around the make a fool of themselves, but she's laughing about it. And there's a kind of a little lull at the moment for you to stand and make your speech.
Roland would get to his feet, have his mug of ale in his hand. I wanted to share a fond memory I have of my mother. As most of you know, there was about 10 years where I was missing.
she didn't give up on me. She had faith that I was still out there when most would believe me dead. And when I came back, it was like she didn't miss a beat. It's almost like 10 years didn't even go by. One of the qualities of House Braddock and one of the qualities of the North that we value the most, he slams his mug down on the table, is commitment. And he'll glance over at Brolin for a brief moment. If you want something, commit. It was Agatha who brought me back. Raise another to Lady Agatha Braddock. I'll sit back
And
down.
you see at this point that these words kind of hit a little differently. The merriment and the bawdiness is kind of died down a little bit at these words. And there are a couple of people that clearly are taking stock of what you said. And you actually see your aunt get up and she excuses herself and heads outside. Brendan, what are you doing during this whole thing?
Brendan is a character that likes to sit in his mind a lot and think, and just continuously break things down. And currently, you kind of see a face of anxiousness and anti-ness, and he's like, just constantly surveying the room. And I think his eyes are searching for Maester Nymor in the hall. Where are you located, Nymor?
Nymor is in a place that's like, if you've got the long hall, he'd be like on one of the long walls, sort of center, so he can see everything without being near the head. It's like one of the other places where you can observe everyone without being too obtrusive. But during Brolin's speech, if you caught his eye, he's not looking at you, but you can tell that there's some sort of his brow furrows with this discussion of Brolin's being missing and being brought back by Agatha. There's just a bit of a furrowed brow, perhaps a bit of a troubled look at that story. And it's the thing where like he had been observing the room, but as the story happened, he sort of went into thoughts a little bit at that. And once it ends and the mood changes, he sort of comes back to himself to continue his job of gathering information for the house. But it's just a slightly different air, right? There's a little bit of dampening to the air with that story.
I think Brennan would get up and excuse himself from Brolin and excuse me, brother. And he gets up and goes to Nymor and kind of looks him in the face with a new expression of gratitude. And he says, I didn't get to thank you for helping Rion out of the castle. I appreciate that, friend.
Young Lord Braddock, your sister deserves to be here. It was... I was not successful in getting her permission to leave the castle before, but it seems with your brother and his lovely wife that perhaps your sister will have a little bit more freedom than she had before, and for that, I think this is good. That is the only thing I think good out of your mother's death.
I think I can agree to that. It's a shame she can see the salt tree on different circumstances. How do you think this is going? And he kind of like looks around, uncomfortable. Brendan doesn't do well with grief, really anything.
Young Lord Braddock, would you show me the salt tree and tell me where it was there that you first saw it? I would be interested in this story. If you would indulge me as someone still a little bit new to the north with knowledge. A walk, as we often have done, would be a favor to me.
Of course. And I assume he would get up and start to head out as well of the hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as you do so, you pass, you pass your cousins, you pass the people that are gathered here. You can see that as you head out of the building that my brain has forgotten the name of, you can see your aunt. She's kind of sat off to one side. She's shed her cloak, and she's got that beer jacket on, so she's not apparently feeling the cold. She's kind of just sat there, and she has a larger bottle of ale in her hand. She's just kind of like watching the snow fall, and she gives you like a little almost salute as you head out.
Oh, I think we
and as we
nod our heads.
But as we pass her, he will. Nymer will just say, "Good Lady Mormont, I wish only to tell you that, as an outside observer, young Lord Brendan here has been growing well, and I have been very impressed by his tutor, by his growth and his maturity and his seriousness, and he is doing your sister proud, and I think I would like you to know that he is someone that I hope that you also will be proud to see as he grows into his strength."
She kind of like, you can tell she's kind of having a little moment out here, but she sort of like wipes her nose. Yeah, he's done Agatha proud already. You know, he's gonna be a good lord one day, I think. He's doing well. Just tell him when he gets back. I want a word with him, yeah?
I will. And if there is anything that I may do for you as a maester for the House Braddock, send only a raven, and I am always willing and able, if I may.
And she nods, like, cheers. So you better go after him. He'll go off on his own.
Of course. But also, if there are any other Mormont women who at any time saved any Braddock people at some point that was not this age, I would be very interested in those stories, because this prophecy might not be from this era, but could also be from another moment, or could be slightly different than... any information would be appreciated about this.
Yeah, I'll have a think back. When I get home, I'll have a look, see if there's anything written down. But nothing immediately comes to mind.
Of course. Thank you. I take my leave. And I leave her, like, maybe she knows, to find Brendan.
She kind of just watched you go like, what the? This is a fucking weird dude. But she takes another big swig and watches you two leave together. And you are alone in the snow.
Young Lord Braddock, I'm sorry for this, bringing you out here under pretense. I know everything about you and this tree. I just wanted to ask you, are you okay? I know this is, for so many reasons, very difficult for you, and I wanted to make sure you are all right. I know this is hard.
And I think as these words kind of hit Brendan's ears, the facade and the wall kind of come down, as Nymor is one of Brendan's most trusted friends, and you can see it in his eyes. He's exhausted. And after a silent moment, he looks up at you and says, I don't know. To be honest, I'm scared, Nymore. I think my older brother's done a fine job with Mother's arrangements and the funeral and whatnot, but I'm scared. What is the future of House Braddock? Every few years, another one of us dies. I don't know.
There has been much loss, this is true. Death after death. Too many. Too many deaths, but I do believe the future lies in the past. And I think you need only to trust yourself more. And then I think the future will be revealed in some way. But you must embrace who you are and what makes you special. You should not be afraid of these things. And you should be bold. You should not be afraid to risk dreaming. Because it is in dreams where we will find the future.
And as you say that, it kind of hits a weird chord. You notice a shift of expression from exhausted to sort of disturbed. Like, what did you just say? Well, it's bloody cold out here. Shall we head back as we walk?
You gave me a look. You gave me a look, young Braddock. Have you dreamed again recently?
Maybe.
And you did not tell me.
Listen, Nymor, I know you have your obsessions and your whatever you call this, but it was nothing. I merely saw Riona leaving the castle. It could have been anything. I could have just been dreaming for dreaming. So
what was she wearing? What was the weather? Tell me about this dream. Was she?
And you notice kind of like you notice kind of a sense of bewilderment in his eyes, and he replies to you, she was wearing what she had on today. And the weather is, as it always is, cold, like today.
Was she leaving alone?
What was that?
Was she leaving alone? Was there someone with her? Was she... And he looks back at the long house, just to, as if to make sure she's still there, you know, although we cannot see who's inside. Keep your sister close with you tonight, and just stay close by. Did you feel... I know this is a question you never like to hear from me, but what did you feel during this dream? Did you feel dread, or did you feel... There's a reason why you did not tell me this dream. What also are you not telling me in this moment?
I felt deep sorrow, loss, like part of me was gone, and it would never come back again.
I'm gonna clap you on the shoulder a little bit. It's a clap, but then stops and sort of gives a squeeze. Always life will change, but when you are close with someone as you are close with young Lady Braddock, there is never, ever a moment where you're not connected. You will always be... She will always be your sister, and the bond you have forged with each other through this loss will not be forgotten. And I know she will not. There is no loss, only opportunity. Come, we'll go back.
So you allow those words to sink into Brendan as you head back to the Longhouse. Johnny is here. He's back. His camera just died with tech problems. We're okay. But so heading back to the Longhouse, you see again Sana. She's still kind of sat outside. She's got a cloak about her shoulders now, though. And she gives a nod of acknowledgement, but she's not expecting anything right at the moment. Just like a. Meanwhile, back in the Longhouse, Lyneth and Riona, the young Lord Manderley is still hanging around, and he is trying not to be too, invasive of your time, as he does have some social skills, as he recognizes this is a funeral, maybe not the best time to be putting the moves on someone, but he's still trying to be a presence. He's trying to be as helpful as he possibly can. He's offering to go get drinks and food, even though you have servants for that. He's offering to, do a plate. He's trying his best. And actually, I think this would be a fun time to do a very simple intrigue. So I would like Lyneth and Riona to roll me status reading. So let me roll for this boy.
That's a 23.
Okay, a 23. In terms of this intrigue, Lyneth, you go first. The young Lord Manderley will be second, and Riona, unfortunately, is pulling in the rear. So he is, he's being very anxious, and there is clearly something that he wants to ask. As you don't even need to roll for that. But so as we begin the intrigue, he's kind of there. He's making his presence known. He's being polite, being anxious, being a little bit weird.
Lord Manderley, your presence is quite charming. We do appreciate your assistance. But I wonder, you seem... Forgive me for being slightly forward. I am getting slightly used to these northern appreciations. But you seem not distressed, but is there something you need to share with us? I would love to help you if I can.
Okay, all right. So I think for this one, if we look at the cheat sheet, I would like you to take your action against the young Lord Manderley. What are we trying to get him here? Are we trying to your technique here? Are we trying to convince him to tell you what's happening? Are we trying to incite him?
Oh, she's definitely trying to convince him.
Okay, so this will be a persuasion convince test on your sheet then. Mm-hmm. And this will go against his intrigue defense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's a 22.
22. Holy crap. Okay. So that is actually double his intrigue defense, and you do have a 6, which means we have a critical on our hands here. So you ignore 2 of his disposition rating, which means he's going to take the full, like pretty much the full brunt of the damage you do against him here. So what is your will rank?
4.
Okay, your will rank is 4, and his intrigue defense was 11, so that's 16, 20. It's 3 degrees of success, which means that's 12 damage against his composure. This kid is woof. Okay, he visibly flushes like a bright, like the tips of his ears, his cheeks, like he goes like a bright red, and he bows again very low. I'm so sorry, my lady. I have to admit there is an ulterior motive of my presence here. It's nothing untoward, and I really don't want to give that impression that there's anything bad here. But my father hoped that by sending me, that our families could perhaps grow closer in allyship. You have the West Coast, we have the East. And I mean, and I heard about what happened with the Flints, and then he kind of like, sorry, what I mean to say is, my lady, that I had hoped to get to meet the young lady Riona. And then he kind of looks up at you. Well,
I think she just slightly smiles at him and says, well, it is rather nice to meet someone so polite in their manners. I'm quite sure that, well, if you asked, perhaps you could have more pleasant conversations. We wouldn't want things to get too awkward with me standing around here now, would we?
and this kid is 100% dying inside. He wants to be erased from the surface of Planetos in this very moment. Like, he just wants to disappear because holy shit, he's mortified. But he smiles warmly and kind of looks at Riona and hits her with those puppy dog eyes that only a teenager can hit another teenager with. And he says, that would be very kind of you, my lady. And I really hope I've not caused any offense here. I really didn't mean to cause any offense. Oh, my father's going to be very upset with me. I've not made a great first impression. I promise I'm not this much of a simpering wreck most of the time.
Oh, you make a perfectly fine impression. Don't worry.
I'll let you in on a little secret there, Roland. Just a very small.
And he sort of leans in. Yes, my lady?
You made just as fine an impression as the good Lord Brolin made on me when we first met. And she just kind of drifts slightly away so that she's close enough to be the chaperone, but also slightly give the impression of privacy.
Yeah, and he is like, whoo! You see his eyes go wide, and he looks at Brolin for a minute. And Brolin, I don't know whether or not you're even looking at this conversation, but if you would catch a teenager look at you, like eyes wide, like a little blush on his cheeks before he immediately like, I wasn't looking.
Brolin will recognize that, put his mug up to his mouth. I can't save you.
And you can see him just like take a huge breath, like his shoulders like, and he turns to Riona. My lady Riona. May I? And then he like reaches up to take your hand. And it's the most awkward thing.
She'll try and like her best to make it not seem awkward for him.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, oh yes.
So as you take his hand, you can feel this is clammy. This is like he's taking his gloves off, so props to him on that one. But this is his clammy, sweaty hand as he takes it, and then he very shakingly brings it up to his lips and very quickly does a little kiss because he's not quite sure the protocol on it, right? Like how long you're supposed to be there, and he doesn't. This is already mortifying enough for him, so he gives you a little quick kiss and then like almost throws your hand back at you as if it's on fire. Can you tell that I was an extremely smooth teenager and not all awkward?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he says it's truly an honor to finally meet you, Lady Riona. I've heard many good things about you. My father said that you are a very young, beautiful lady across the mountains. That he said a lot of good things.
I think for a second there, like I think when he said, "I've heard good things," there's a moment of concern on her face. But I think after like recovers, I think certainly I've heard wonderful things about where you come from. I don't get come out very much, but I'm glad it wasn't all just talk about how many logs you can lift or how many people you've slain in battle tonight.
Well, I have to confess, I'm not much one for log lifting or men slaying. I like exploring, and I like reading things and stories, and I like songs. Songs are good.
What do you like studying? What things? Because I spend most time running the house when people are gone, so a lot of time to study myself.
You know, being from White Harbor, we see people from everywhere. You know, we see them from Essos. We see them from the southern kingdoms. We you know, there's people everywhere. So I grew up watching these ships come in, and I wanted to know more about them. So I studied the geography and countries and cultures. Did you know in Bravos that there's a place called the House of Black and White, and that's where they worship death.
Oh, I've heard many things about that. I'm not too sure many of them are true. There's so many.
Do you know the fascinating thing about it is a lot of people think that death is the studying death is this very, you know, macabre and serious, sinister thing, but they treat it as like just a thing in life. You know, everybody dies, so it shouldn't be feared. And the house, the guild of Black and White, they're not scary. People aren't afraid of them, and they go out and they feed people and they do things. And he's going on like this really, you know, like information dump of everything he knows about the House of Black and White. And he's gonna keep going unless you stop him.
I think if he's talking, he's getting a little more comfortable, so I'm gonna let him kind of warm up a bit. But yes, she also has that zeal for knowledge, so I think at a certain point she will like kind of give like other stories. So we're kind of like trying to get past this awkwardness.
Yeah, and he's getting more comfortable, and you can see it in his body language too. Like he was very like uptight, but he's starting to relax. And as he's talking, he's starting to gesture with his arms a bit more. You know, he's loosened up a lot. He's not stuttering as much when he's talking to you, and he says at one point, he says, "I am so sorry, my lady. I've been talking for I think what feels like 3 hours, and I haven't asked you anything. Do you like to explore?"
Yes, I do.
Where have you been?
She is going to lie.
Okay. All right. Hit me up with that deception test then. Let's go. Let's have a deception bluff.
She is going to basically kind of go off of things that Nymor has told her about Highgarden. It's like, oh, I've went there.
Okay, so let's have this deception bluff to see how good this lie is.
All right. This is cool.
This is your truth, by the way, Celeste. The young Lord Manderley is your truth, so thank you very much.
Oh. Please. You know what? I'm gonna be the teenager. I'm gonna put that dice. She wants. So I'll use one of my dice to give myself a bonus.
Okay. 12. Okay. Nice. So Nymol has told you enough about Highgarden, and you've heard enough about Highgarden from Lyneth too, to be able to convincingly make it sound like you at least visited there. You know, not that you know how it runs or the ins and outs of Highgarden, but you know you can describe its curtain walls, the mummers on every corner, the great hedge gardens, the maze, the yellow roses everywhere. You know, you can bullshit your way through a story.
The first thing that when Lyneth probably came to the Green Keep was tell me about where you come from, because she's only had this castle, and it probably got really annoying after a certain amount of time. Like, she will grill anybody from any other place that she can, that she is not from.
And he is hooked on this story, and he is giving you every ounce of his attention. And at the end of it, he says, "I've never been to Highgarden. Maybe we could go together." I'm sorry, that was forward of me.
Been there in no. Everything is okay. It's okay. I haven't been there since I was young, so I have to go there again.
Well, perhaps one day, my lady. I should probably let you enjoy the rest of your evening. I have had monopolized enough of your time. Thank you again. And he bows very deeply before he awkwardly scurries off.
She'll smile. She'll smile at him.
And you see this, Brolin, like, this kid has been hanging around near your sister, and Brendan, as you make your way back in. This kid has been hanging around your sister for, like, a good couple of hours at this point. They've been chatting away, and he scurries off, and he's got that big dopey smile that a teenager who, you know, didn't get slapped has whenever he's successfully talked to a girl.
Brolin would kind of take this in stride and smile a little bit, and then look over at Lyneth. I'm going to Tomei. Could you run things for me here for a moment?
Of course. Are you okay?
Yeah. Just need the cold in my nostrils.
All right.
And then he'll, use the back of his legs to push his chair out from underneath him and kind of like get up and stretch, and then walk around the table for the exit. And like you'll see him, he takes up a good amount of space. Like he got the Mormont genes. In terms of his physical stature, just like thick, with 2 C's, maybe 3, depending on the day. Maybe, depending on how generous someone is, someone mayhaps would call him dummy thick, because kids. But he walks out.
That's it.
Yeah. He walks out. And he tries to find his aunt.
Yeah, she's kind of shuffled over to an area that's sort of covered, but she's sitting on like a tree stump, like a little makeshift bench that she's found outside. There's areas out here for sitting. When it's nice and warmer, when it's not snowing or extremely cold. There are places to sit out here, and she's kind of got one. She's still got that bottle in her hands, and she kind of looks up at you. Hi, Brolin.
I'd be lying if it didn't feel weird to call you auntie.
Yeah, it's weird when my sons call me mama still. Not used to it.
How old?
22 now. When did that happen?
When our concept of time decays
as we get older, I suppose, moment to moment.
Yeah.
How
It does. It does.
how are you?
I'll be alright. It's hard when it's your sibling, you know. My mum and dad died, they were old. I knew it was coming. But we grew up together, you know. She's not that much older than me.
Yeah, I feel like I had to have a conversation with you, because sometimes when you're standing at the head of the table, you have to speak a certain way. And I didn't want to do that with you.
And she claps like a hand on your shoulder. I mean, she's not a small woman. In her prime, when she was young, she must have stood 6'2", 6'3". She's a big, big woman. Obviously, aging, she's kind of shrunk a little, but she still has retained a lot of that that posture about her. And you can definitely tell, even though she's old and aged now, you know, she's got the wrinkles and her hair has streaks of gray in it, that she definitely in her youth, you could easily have picked her as a knight, a warrior. How are you doing?
It's a lot. The last 2 years have been... I can't even put into words. It's totally different life. Change.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be back.
You know, it's funny when you told that story. It made me think. I've been thinking a lot, actually. Change. It's a weird one, isn't it? I never was supposed to be up here. I was never supposed to be married to a bloke, have 3 kids. That was never my life.
It wasn't till it was.
Yeah. Your man
Sometimes
played no small part in that.
I owe a lot to my mother.
Yeah, it's
I'd
funny.
still be...
Go on.
I'd still be scavenging for fish. If she didn't care. I'm thankful she did.
Yeah, she cared a lot. I hated her for it. You know, I was telling that story earlier, that tournament. I was only down there because I was in love with someone. She was like no one I'd ever seen before. I can't even describe what she was like. Just beautiful. Razor sharp wit. She took none of my shit. She saw me coming from a mile off. And I thought, when she looked at me, that I was the luckiest person in the world. So I went out there in that tawny field and I made a fucking tit of myself. You can't believe, oh my god, right back. It was all for her. All for her. But your mum, she sent me messages, she sent me ravens telling me to get back home. That I had a duty to the family. Stop pissing about in the south with those poncy southern bastards. Get my way back home. You know, she said, what was it? She went, fucking hell, Sana, I can't be the only one squeezing out brats for the family up here. Yeah.
And I hated her for
What
it.
happened? What happened to the one that set the fire inside you?
I had to say goodbye to my Rosie. She had a life. She was a proper noble woman. She had a duty. She knew what she had to do. It was just me that was trying to hide from it. So I had
Have
to
you
say
found
goodbye
that
to her.
fire since?
No. No. I mean,
Maybe
you
not
know,
not in a
there's-
person, but a job, hobby.
an hobby. Do you try raising 3 kids and tell me if you've got time for an hobby?
And then Brolin kind of like he hears that and he's like he kind of gets defensive and brings his arms up and like looks down. Yeah. Can't say we're not trying.
And she, for a moment is like, oh, fuck. She's a couple of drinks in and she's realized she's upset you. And she just literally just goes, oh, fuck, Brolin, I'm sorry. I heard.
Yes. Hey, we're
No, it's not.
we're
Me
having
and
a
my
good time.
God.
We're here. We'll drink. We make good memories. You can't get hung up on the little shit that happens.
Yeah. But you know, it'll happen. I lost my first 2. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is hard. But it'll happen. You've got Mormon blood in you anyway, and she slaps you like really hard on the arm. And like, you know, drunk people don't know their strength, so she just wallops you.
And if there is pain there, he would do his best to just not let any of that show.
Mhm.
If it doesn't hurt, then it doesn't hurt. He doesn't react to it.
Right.
How things
Do you
up in
love her?
Bear Island? Okay, which one first?
No, sorry. Go on. No, mine's just more maudlin shit. We don't need it.
Well, one, yes.
Do you?
I don't know how I can elaborate. Yeah. Well, what you were saying that Rosie, was it?
Hmm.
You remember the moment, right? You saw her.
Yep.
Your body stops, and there's this weird. I said it before, fire starts in the pit of your belly. It goes up through your chest, and then that's over. It's over then. You're just a fool.
Yep. Your brain goes to
Right.
mush, and there's nothing else but a.
Well, I guess I'm lucky because I didn't have to do a whole bunch. Just kind of happened.
Yeah, I heard about that, you jammy bastard. Some of us had to put some work in.
I could have messed it up and I didn't, so I would say not messing it up was a success. And he takes a swig.
The amount of lances I had broken against me for her to impress her. Worth it though. She was a medic. One time, I pretended I had a concussion just so she'd stay with me. You know, I can't go to sleep. Banged me head. Worked a treat. That's a good one.
Fucking
I'm telling you,
hot.
put that one in your
Yeah.
book.
I'm not sure Lineth would be the best person to fake a lancing injury in front of.
Mm.
However,
Well,
if
she's
She's from that family. Fucking Longthorn's there at Tawny Grounds every time there's a Tawny. If there's a fucking land somewhere, Longthorn's there. She knows about Tawnies. She knows about taking a lance. Ooh, talk about pickup lines. I'm sorry, that just... Ooh, back in the scene.
Clip. Let's clip. Can we get GIF and clip that, please? Well, in this new state of responsibility, there may come a time where we may need to converse again in a more serious manner in regards to our houses. And your family and the Braddocks have two different color threads on the same towel. I want you to know that you can count on us if you should need it. I know you can take care of yourself. All of you. But in times like this, it's good to know out loud who you can depend on.
Likewise. Your family, kid.
He kind of
Will always
puts
be
his
with you.
hand out and in the Braveheart kind of like handshake, like the forearm to forearm grasp.
Yeah. They do one of
Yep.
these. Right, I'm freezing me fucking tits off. Let's get inside, eh?
Yeah, your lead. And he'll gesture.
And she gets up, and there's like a good little like spot around her where she's been sat, and you can see like her ass is just completely covered in snow, and she's like, "Fuck no!" as she gets inside. And Brendan, as you come in, as you see your aunt followed by your brother, and she's like, as she stands by the fire. She's making a proper show of it as well. Like she's got that, she's cheered up a little bit. Okay, so the rest of the evening is going to be pretty much the same. Frivolity and stories and anything like that. So if there's anything or anyone you folks want to talk to before I move things on a little bit, please do let me know. One of the coolest things that we've done previously in A Song of Ice and Fire in the games campaigns I've been in is it's very led by you guys, because you're the ones that want to talk to people. So just let me know. We make it happen.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do I notice that Lyneth is drinking tea this evening? I imagine glasses-wise, it might be obvious.
Yeah, how much effort is Lyneth going to disguise she's drinking tea rather than alcohol this evening?
Not a lot, but she's also being like socially polite about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I mean, there's a couple of
offers her
things-
a drink, she'd be like, "Oh no, I've got my own, thank you." But not real obvious.
Yeah, okay. There's a lot of things you can't disguise, right? Like it's steaming. The mug
Yeah.
is not like the big ale mugs. It's probably smaller. And a maid is bringing her one every now and then. She's not getting it from one of the casks on the wall. So it's probably, you're pretty perceptive. You can probably pick it up.
And I'm interested in the entire house all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would, when there is a bit of a lull, right? I sort of just wait until there's a lull, until her duties are, there's like a bit of a pause in her duties, and I would then approach her. Also waiting for her to be like in a physical location that's like not in the middle of everything, but like I'm waiting for like that subtle moment to sort of just approach her quietly.
Okay. So just as a heads up here, are you going into this with the intent to sort of get anything from her, like in terms of information, or ask her anything? Because if so, we might go into like a simple intrigue here.
I just want to ask her one question that I don't know how she will answer.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, what we can do is instead of making this like a full intrigue where we roll like initiative and all that, we can, as it comes up, I will ask you for rolls. So we'll do it a little bit more freeform. So at any point, Prax, does Lyneth sort of like take a moment to get down off that main sort of dais where all the big seats are? Does she take a moment to like walk the room or anything like that?
She's like, when she sees Brolin go out, she kind of takes a moment to kind of like, because he asked her to kind of like walk the room and kind of play hostess. And then when she sees him come back in, she'll like kind of step back a little bit, kind of take a step closer to one of the little side alcoves, and you're just, where she can watch all of the rest of her family and make sure everything's okay, and not leaving Riona alone, unchaperoned, but not crowding her either. Yeah, so kind of a little a ways, but still with line of sight.
Lady Braddock, I noticed that you are drinking the delicious tea of the north this evening. I thought I might ask briefly, are you feeling all right? I know that the lingering illness has been somewhat difficult for you, and I was hoping that the travel was not aggravating you, because if it was, I could study more to see if or look to help. I just want to make sure that you are healthy and not having, it is not returning.
I thank you for your concern, Nymor, but I am quite well.
Are you
I
sure?
just prefer tea for this evening.
All right, but I am your maester, and if you need anything, let me know, and I will see what I can do.
Okay, Prax, could I ask you to roll me a deception bluff test, please?
Certainly. Ooh.
I feel like that was probably true. And of course, she would never lie to her maester.
She would never. I mean, why would you lie to a maester?
I mean, she was being entirely honest. She is not getting sick again. She is entirely fine.
I mean, that is true, but as Sam would say, and never lets me get away with, and after the fire, lies of omission are also lies. So please do roll me.
That is fair.
That is fair. I'm going to take one of those beautiful 3 bonus dice that I have, chest dice that I have there, and use that for this, because I can. So that's a 15.
A 15. Okay, what is your intrigue defense, Nymor?
It's all right. It's an 11.
11. Okay, so that with a 15 beats your 11. So she has successfully lied to you. We're good because it's a very quick intrigue. The kind of like low level we're doing. We're just doing it like that rather than reducing your composure for this, because we'll be here all freaking night. So yeah, you don't really have any reason at the moment to suspect she may have lied to you.
Well, I look at her complexion. She does not look like she has the fever. So it seems as if what she says is true, that she does not have from before. Lady Braddock, thank you. If you find yourself being feverish or anything like this before, please tell me. I don't want... I worry about your health, and I want to make sure that everything is as it should be. It is my job.
Of course. And if there's any reason for me to be concerned about my health, you would be the first person I would tell.
Or perhaps after your good lord husband. But I hope that I'm on that list somewhere in top 5.
Of course. Are you all right, Namor?
Of course, as is always so.
I saw you smiling at my lovely good sister earlier.
Oh, she is. I want to thank you. Thank you for. You've always been very good at convincing people of things, and so thank you for helping convince your husband that she should come out for this one time and brave the elements. I think it means a lot to her to finally be able to see make this pilgrimage, and I think it would have broken her heart to miss her mother's funeral, despite how difficult their relationship was.
I am quite happy to help Rihanna in any way I can, and I think she will be perfectly fine. I think her brothers are very fine gentlemen who are just slightly overconcerned at times.
I agree. We are again on the same mind of this one. She's more healthy than I think they imagine. So at least she will never grow stronger if she never leaves the house. The keep.
Exactly.
I'm glad you're here. I don't know if I've told you that before, but I'm glad you're here.
I'm glad to be here, Namor. I am quite glad to be here. I'm also glad that you are here. There are very few others I would trust in your position, particularly at a time like this.
Speaking of a time like this, and I just step like 2 inches closer, just so that our words would not be overheard. The Starks have sent a raven, but they have sent no one. The Karstarks have sent no one. The Umber sent, again, condolences, and I imagine they are very busy with Skagos, but they have not. None of those houses have sent people. The Flints have not replied at all.
Well, I think in the near future we may have traded a Flint for a Manderley, and I think that's only moving upwards.
Really? I look about
And
to
she'll
see.
just kind of like, she'll just subtly aside to where Lord Manderley is, and is like, probably still has that big dopey grin on his face.
What do you know about him?
Oh, yeah.
His personality, not his prospects. His prospects is what, youngest son.
Youngest son, desirous of adventure, travels, well-bred, polite.
That's
Likes
good.
to share those travels with others.
I think she would like that. That would be good for her, I think. Better than the Flint. I mean, he was good for consolidating the west of the north, but another trading house would be good. I think I have an idea.
Also, the seaside would probably vastly improve her health.
This is true. Give me one moment. I have an idea. I'm going to head over to the musicians, and I'll say, "You've been quiet. I think it's time for something more dancing. I think should happen in this moment. Give us something that might inspire a young man to ask a young lady to dance."
Okay. And again, coming for Sam, they know like 3 songs, and one of them is "The Bear and the Maiden Fair," which is a bawdy sort of bar song, but it is definitely I'm gonna get yelled at so bad, but it's definitely a song for dancing to, especially once people are in their cups. Which were like right near the end of the evening, right? People are a little bit swifty. Some people are a lot white girl wasted, and they are ready for a party. Yeah. So the Bear and the Maiden Fair starts up, and the young Lord Manderley, it takes him a second to cotton on, and he sort of like smiles, and then it's custom for the song to have a dancing partner. And you can see him looking at Riona, and he's doing the, should I, shouldn't I? And it's like a good couple of lines into the song before he kind of is edging his way ever so slightly closer, but he doesn't quite make it. He may need a little
bump
assistance.
into him. I'm like walking. It's very busy in this hall, and I'm walking by, and perhaps there's a couple, and I just accidentally with my hips knock him a little bit closer to Riona. Just.
Mm-hmm. Oh. And he sort of almost stumbles at her. She's seated, and he kind of looks up and says, "Oh, my apologies, my lady. But whilst I'm here, would you like a dance?"
Yes.
Ooh. So he offers his hand to you, Riona. Okay, I'm gonna have this boy roll an ability check, agility check, see how he does. It's not gonna be great. He has no points in it. Turns out. So it's just 3d6.
I don't either.
An 11. Okay, that's not the worst. That is not the worst. 11's pretty decent. God damn it, Johnny. He's not standing on your toes, surprisingly. He's not the best dancer in the world, but he's not bad enough that he's stomping on your feet.
Mm-hmm.
Give me an agility. See how well Riona does.
I want to impress this boy. I'm going to use no dice.
And I'm just standing nearby Lyneth watching and just like willing this dance to work well. Just willing it to happen.
I think she's probably got very few lessons, maybe. She's trying to remember as hard how this went.
Okay.
That's
okay. A 10! Again, not the worst in the world. Fine. You two will not be winning any competitions, but you are giving it a good go, and you aren't getting in each other's way. You're not getting in anyone else's way, and you're just having a real good time, just dancing. He does a little underarmy spinny. He does a little pirouette with you, and he's having a real good time. And it's kind of like Jack and Rose on the Titanic, right? When they're dancing in the underbellies of the ship together. We're not going to do the arm spinny. But it's that kind of vibe.
And
welcome in Raiders from LFM. He is having a really good time, and he's smiling, and he's forgetting, and he pulls you close for a minute. And it's that sort of like where you're like an inch away from each other's face before he's like, oh fuck, and he like almost pushes you across the room as he realizes he just forgot himself for a minute. You were not leaving room for the 7.
I think when that happened, like, I think it's that same thing. It's like, oh no, like what happened? What's happening? It's like, oh okay.
Yeah, if you were lowborn and you were in a tavern and this was not in a keep and you were not nobility, he would 100% have kissed you in that moment, and it would have been great and people would have cheered. But the social training kicked in and he immediately panicked and was like, woof. But as he steps back, he bows. That was a very good dance, my lady. Thank you.
Oh, you dance very well.
You too. I picked up a few things from some sailors.
Across the sea.
Well. Yep. I'm gonna get a drink. Do you want a drink? And he's like desperately trying to like think of something to say.
Yes. Yeah, I think they're both like, Yes.
Okay. Yes. Meanwhile, Brendan, what are you doing? Besides dying.
I've been thinking about dying. Yeah, he learned some dancing tricks from sailors. That got me going. I love that. I perceive it as the men of House Braddock. I think Brendan's eyes are searching for Brolin's in more of a we don't really dance type mood. And like as everyone's having this married time, like my eyes are we are the two guys at the party who are not dancing, or if we are dancing, we're kind of just like bobbing back and forth with no foot movement.
You're doing like
and
the
no
dad
arms.
knee bend, right? Like
The dad knee bend of like, hey, I can keep a beat of 2 and 4, but there's no way I'm breaking it down for y'all right now. And he kind of tries to gauge what his Lord brother is doing, just with a very discontent look of I hate singing and all that jazz.
Whereas I will dance with Lady Braddock's lady in waiting. I can't remember what her name was.
Winifred.
Winifred, the older woman. I will take her for a spin on the dance floor.
Oh, dang! Are you bringing some of that Dornish heat?
I am Dornish. If there's dancing to be done, then there must also be dancing, and I bet she has not been dancing for a little bit.
Not only Dornish, but a Martell. Let's not forget. So you got
I have not
to bring
forgotten.
in that flavor. Yeah.
I have not forgotten.
So
it's like a ghost pepper is what we have. A ghost pepper worth of dancing. It's that much heat. This is what it is. And,
Amazing. And there's people that are genuinely taken aback as the perception of maces, as you've learned, Nymor, that they're old, curmudgeonly, like old men with their birds and their scrolls. But you've brought something different, and people still aren't quite used to that yet. So as you're dancing and the chain is going, they're like, whoa! And you basically have a mosh pit open up around you, like just you and Winifred and a circle of people around you that are kind of dumbfounded as they're watching this dance.
And Winifred, she has been around the block. I'm sure she knows moves. I tell you, always people who are in the help, they're always the best dancers. And so we have a very spirited dance.
Oh yeah, like Winifred's an older lady, but you did not know that she could get her leg up that high. Again, phrasing. But anyway, so
GIFs, clips, GIFs. Can we?
Damn it. No, there's too many clips of me already on this damn channel, putting my foot in my mouth. Quit it. Okay, so Brolin and Brendan, you shared this moment of eye contact across the room.
He'll look at Brendan being like somber and stoic, and then kind of have a moment of looking at himself, realizing that he is also somber and stoic, and then maybe perhaps the second or third time I look over at Lyneth, wherever she's at in the room, and extend a hand as an invitation.
I think when you turned to look for her, she was like coming up behind you and like puts her hand immediately in yours and just kind of smiles at you. It's like, you owe me a dance.
All right. I'll try my hardest.
Just have fun.
And he's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2.
And I think as Brendan sees his brother finally making this duo of guys who can't dance cut in half, he starts to look around amongst the tables of the hall and starts to just start slamming ale, because as the only guy at the party who cannot dance, there is nothing else for him to join the merriment, for Braddock men try to not make fools of themselves on the floor.
As you start downing your drink, you feel a hand on your shoulder, and it squeezes a little. Your brother's showing you up, kid.
Isn't he always?
Come on. And your aunt, almost grabs you by the scruff of your neck and stands you up from the bench. Come on, have a dance with your auntie. Come on. She's like proper drunk. She's like, come on.
And Brendan is very, very not. Nymor has taught him many a thing about history and about social etiquette, but I don't think we've hit the dancing lesson yet. So I'm the guy whose feet are in a nice pizza shape, kind of stumbling. Plus the ale
I
has
mean,
obviously affected his sense of direction.
but here's the thing: it's been 2 years since Lyneth got here, and Nymor's a Martell Maester. I think dancing was like higher on that list of skills that were supposed to be included.
Here's the thing: if we're going to go traveling around in Braddock lands, and we will be staying, of course, in inns, and there's often inns in dancing, and so I think a little bit of dancing skill might go a bit of a way. And now with Lady Braddock, she is a good dance partner. I've seen her many a ball. She can fix that thing with your feet that you do sometimes, and also the counting with your mouth. Don't do that. Don't do the counting with your mouth. It is not. It's not. That was like a flashback to like a moment, like a year and a half ago.
So, Brendan, you've been hoisted out of your chair. Sana has basically grabbed your arms. She puts them on top of her shoulders. I imagine. How tall is Brendan?
He's about my height, about 6 foot.
Okay, so it's not like you're like this. Your arms are a little higher because your aunt is still, she's still pretty tall. And she's like, relax. Yeah?
Sure. And as we're kind of circling in this awkward northerner prom, like I brought my aunt to prom moment, I try to make eye contact with Nymor, and I'm like, help me. As I'm being, and I don't know why, but I picture our Mormon aunt is also very thick with 4 or 3 C's. Being the bow boy that he is, Brendan's kind of being manhandled on the dance floor. So as we're kind of, just swinging, I can go left. He's like, help me.
And Sana's having a great time. She knows how ridiculous this is, but she's too drunk to care, and she's just having fun with her family. She throws her head back and she's laughing. She like picks Brendan up and twirls him a bit and then puts him down again. I imagine she picks him up and twirls him, and it's at that point, Nymor, you catch Brendan go, help me! And she puts him back down. Oh, you muted, Trooper. We can't hear you.
I say, young Lord Braddock is an excellent dancer. Braddock, and I try to get a cheer going, sort of up. Or Brendan, that's how I'm going to help. I'm going to help by having everybody look at him and think he's amazing.
Okay.
While he's being manhandled by his aunt.
And it's really easy to do so, Nymor, with how well you did with the dance with Winifred. People listen to you now at this party. It's not hard to, once you get a drunk person on side, to be like, hey, look at that. So you see a couple of people, Brendan, as you're sort of brought about for another turn, all are kind of cheering and raising their glasses to you.
I think at this point, Lyneth, who's been leans into Brolin's like, should I try and save your brother from your aunt, or are we just letting this happen?
I don't know if you recall, but we need more stories.
Fine. This will make a very great story for you, Lord Brolin Braddock, to tell your son.
He stops, his right knee buckles. What? Son?
Or maybe your daughter. That hasn't been determined yet. I don't make these determinations. All I can tell you is that in the near future that will be happening.
Huh. Lady, would you care to step outside?
Why,
He'll
certainly,
gesture.
Lord Brolin. And she'll just kind of like slight bob curtsy and just proceed out, like waiting for him to escort her out.
And he'll escort her out. And the second they're kind of clear from the festivities and everyone raucously having a good time in there, he'll like shut the door behind her and then instantaneously like bear hug and like lift her up and then start like this odd mixture of laugh and cry as he like kind of just like squeezes and buries his face into like her clavicle. And you just hear this odd cadence of noise come out of him that you probably haven't heard.
And I think she takes that moment to just kind of be like, put her arms around him and like kind of pet the back of his head and kind of calm him. And she would lean in and go, "Your mother made the determination that we weren't going to tell you until after. And now it's after."
Well, today's been the adventure, hasn't it?
And he kind of smiles sheepishly.
But it's been a good adventure.
He'll kind of, his eyes will shift around and he'll like look at her.
I've got an idea. Follow me.
And then he'll go to, he'll escort her to the salt tree. Being as like the lights are down, maybe there's only embers left of the pyre.
Oh yeah, for sure. By this point,
I needed this, and if you'd like to celebrate, I'd very much like to celebrate here with you, in front of the eyes of the gods. And
You are
also,
such a romantic,
perhaps,
Roland Braddock.
sometimes romantic, sometimes hasty, sometimes a rock. But things change with the tides.
And we make our own tides, do we not, Roland Braddock?
That we do. But tonight, the tides can watch.
And he kind of edges closer, and he's kind of got a smirk and like a devilish look in his eye as he kind of like kind of starts this weird, charming situation where he locks gaze and then like puts his hands on her hips.
And she just laughs, like just that level of relaxation and joyfulness that's just in when she knows that he's being romantic, but at the same time it's also slightly just a teeny bit cheesy, but she's into it and she actually loves him, and it's like, oh, you know what, I'm happy, we're all happy, it's good. And just would like put her arms around her neck.
okay. So as Lynette and Brolin share this tender moment and semi-cheesy moment beneath the stars, we pan up to said stars and then back down artfully to the longhouse where, Brendan, you have been set down by your aunt, and she has found a poor, another unfortunate victim. It's one of her sons, her youngest son at this point, and she's wheeling him around. And it's kind of gotten really bored in here now. Like, there's arm wrestling going on. There's actual wrestling going on. The young Lord Manderley is, like, on the edge, fascinated by this. But as someone almost goes through a table, he sort of, like, backs off. And he's like, oh, my God. And he kind of comes up to you, Riona. He's like, I've never seen anything like it. Is every Braddock get-together like this?
Not necessarily. It's. I'll give you a little bit of a. It's mostly the Mormont side.
Oh. I've heard things about the Mormons. Good things. Good things.
Worry. They're probably true, anyways.
uh, do, do you take after the moment side much?
My brother's got most of that. But we can't help who we turn out. Like, otherwise I wouldn't have time to library and all that's there.
Yeah.
When they're kind of dead.
You know, I think you're much stronger than people give you credit for. And he's like trying to compliment like in the most like weird way.
There's a little bit of a like pained smile in there. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome,
like,
my lady.
There's like a little bit of sadness that just kind of goes, but then she kind of gets back that diplomatic face.
And you know he's just gonna try and keep you company as the chaperones have left. And he's not trying anything untoward, but he feels a lot more comfortable around you. You can tell with no Lyneth or Brolin there, he's a lot more comfortable around you. He's been very respectful. He's not like trying to like touch you or anything like that. He's a good couple of feet back after the dance. He's very hesitant to actually approach you too closely. But he is, he's being a pleasant companion for the evening.
And I think she'll kind of luxury in that attention, and she will spend as much time talking with him as as the night will allow for her.
Okay. So, Brendan, you have managed to escape your aunt's clutches, and unless you're engaging in the roughhousing and fighting, I imagine you've probably taken a quieter spot to the side just to watch what's happening. There's a moment where you have to like duck your head as a beer mug goes smashes over your shoulder, but you are not being pulled into the fighting and roughhousing.
Yeah, I picture.
Come now. You should come and speak to the men-at-arms. Come. I'm going to make sure that he speaks to people, that he is has good cheer, that there are lovely conversations. He's not going to go moping about in some corner. No. I want to make sure that he speaks to all the cousins, that he's... No, come. Young Lord Braddock, come speak to your cousins. I'm going to basically hostess him around a little bit so that he does not mope in the corner. Come now. None of that.
I love it. Yeah.
Okay. So as you're being taken around the men and your cousins and the assembled guests, I would like you, Johnny, to roll me a status check to see how well you do in being status breeding, to see how well you do with being lordly at this time.
Roger.
May I give him a bonus die? Can I aid him?
Johnny has 3 bonus die.
Actually, yes, I'm going to use
a
a bonus die. Yeah, I'm going to use one now, even though I appreciate it.
Okay, so
I'm going to use
let's
dice nerd.
Okay, so if you're going to use your bonus die, you need to roll 4d6 and keep the best 3.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We got a 16.
A 60. Woo!
664.
Okay.
That's 16. Northerner
That
math.
is 16.
Let's go. We can do math.
You are doing a fantastic job of being lordly, as you are not just like not lordly in a state of I'm better than you, you're all freaking plebs, keep away from me, but you know what to say to the men, you know how to hold yourself to give that air of approachability, but also like I am still your boss, but you can talk to me, but I am better than you, but not in a dickhead kind of way.
But I also hope a little fun, like not boring, not, That's all. Just not so down all the time,
I think after a little bit of conversing and a little bit of merriment and a couple ales, Brendan has started to cut back on the teen angstness that is embedded into his soul, And he starts to look around for some of his cousins and see if any of them also have a bow attached to their back.
You can currently see that all three of your cousins are in a pile right now, like smashing each other's faces into the ground while their mother watches and laughs, and she's heckling them from the side, and other people are heckling. Shirts have come off, and you can see just by the way your cousins are built, they're all like big sword or axe fighters. These are big, large boys, very barrel-chested, sort of. You know, you can tell they've clearly worked very hard, even though they're quite young. The oldest is 20 something. The youngest is like about 18, about your age. They are all fighters.
I think actually, Brendan, if he's on this high of I'm a real boy, I can prove myself to everybody. He would definitely actually try and get involved in the fray. So I picture three cousins, bombarding each other, and as one of them's going down for another pummel, he sort of grabs the shoulder and tries to like redirect the blow at himself so he can do one of those like a too quick for you.
Hell yeah. Okay, so this is actually a test in itself. This is fighting brawling.
Oh, geez. Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
I don't imagine you have any bonus die in brawling.
Negative. Bowboy has no bonuses in brawling.
So
this will be
your
interesting.
Fighting. So what is your fighting?
A whopping 2. So a whopping 2d6, yeah?
2d6? Okay, let's go.
Brendan slightly drunkenly and on a confidence high is, I can do this. An 8.
Okay, so you come in and you see an opportunity. You grab your cousin's shoulder and you throw like a almost like a hip check, right? To like throw him down, almost like a judo throw. But unfortunately, your cousin is too big. He plants his feet and you shift him a little bit and he halts like this. And then he turns and he looks at you and he gives out a big bellowing like, ho ho! And he grabs you by the like the collar and he's gonna attempt to like throw you into the pile of cousins. So let me see what he's, let's see what we got. I imagine one of Sana's sons is gonna be rocking a
lot.
Yeah.
So much.
So that's a 16 as he sort of grabs you and just like, woof, down you go onto the ground. Because I can't imagine your combat defense is higher than 16.
No, I don't believe it is. I believe it's actually 50. No, 11. Yeah, so you're...
Ooh.
I picture as I'm being flung over his shoulder, he's trying to like make eye contact with Naimon. He's like, I wish I would have stayed in the corner. So, like everyone's just been picking up Brendan at this reception and yossing him around.
But there's a frivolity to it. There's a lightheartedness to it. And as you're watching this, Naimon, a house servant comes up to you and whispers in your ear, excuse me, Maester, there's been a raven.
I just like nod to excuse myself to make eye contact, but nobody's paying. Well, like in that moment, you would like nod to like Lord any of the Braddocks, but they are not here, and he's busy. Well, all right, and she's chatting with him. Well, so I just go towards, I imagine where our tents are.
Yeah, luckily, because Westeros magic, this raven just knows how to find you. But you see the bird with a small scroll attached to its foot. You take it off, and it is sealed with the seal of House Stark. And it is unbroken.
Awkward. I just look around one more time, and I'm like, where are they? I'm going to sort of step out within still, I suppose, torchlight so I can read, but sort of a bit of privacy so I can check what this raven has to say.
Okay, so as you unscroll it, it's simple. It says, Barthagen Stark is dead. Lord Brandon Stark requests Lord Brolin at Winterfell immediately.
I looked at the long hall and he was not there. I'm going to make a bit of a round around the long hall. Maybe I can find the new Lord Braddock quickly. It's a quick move, not running, but it's a quick move. Mm-hmm.
Quick move. So as you head out to find Brolin, that is unfortunately all we have time for tonight. So with dark words brought on dark wings, that is where we leave House Braddock for this week. Juicy. I cannot wait to get back into this next week. Things are going to get juicy for House Braddock. But thank you all so much for watching us this week. And if you're watching on YouTube, a big hearts to you. What phrase can we put in YouTube comments if you made it this far? We've had some good ones.
I feel like you can leave it at dark words on dark wings.
Dark words, dark wings. All right. So if you've made it so far in the YouTube comments, please do leave us a dark words, dark wings, and maybe your favorite bit of the episode. But thank you all again so much. But before we say goodbye, we'll go around, say who we are and where you can find us real quick. So Johnny. Hi, Johnny.
Hello. I'm Johnny Blams. You can find me on Twitter. That's where I post things. I just want to say thank you to the cast because this was everything I would have hoped that it would have been for the last 2 months. So I'm so ecstatic I got to meet you guys in character, and I'm so pumped for next week. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Johnny. And Brendan will have a week where he is not yeeted by family members. I promise you this. And just emotionally yeeted, perhaps. But Shauna, thank you so much for playing with us this week. Who are you and where can we find you on the internet?
Oh, it's so nice to be back in Westeros, and it was so wholesome. I am afraid now. I am more afraid than when we started. This went so well. She got a little nice little date with the boy, and it's just oh no. But yeah, I'm Shauna Flying Clears on Twitter. All the art that I do and the games I play are posted there. Including next time to see me is on Wednesdays on Safer's channel for more Blades in the Dark, which we will be taking back some territory. We got a racing track and we have to defend it.
Hell yeah, that sounds rad. Well, thank you so much again, Shauna. Bill, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet?
Hello, I'm Bill. You could find me at Bill of the Forest on the internet. I do a whole bunch of streaming-y type things. On Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern, you can find me on LFM Network. On Wednesdays at 8 p.m., you could find me on Laugh Love Lindy in The Witcher TRPG. And then all the other days of the week, I'm working or crying. Wait, no, there's some laughter in there too. But yeah, this has been a hoot. I love all these folks. Follow them. Watch all the cool stuff that they do. I can't wait. That's it. I'm done. I'm shutting up.
Well, thank you again, Bill. And Prex, thank you so much for playing with us. Who are you? Where can we find you on the internet?
This was wonderful. I love all of you. This was a fabulous time. Thank you for having me. As for me, hey all, you know me. I'm at Deirdre Donlan on Twitter, Praxora Thesmiophorias. You see me around on Twitch. And you can find me on Wednesdays over on Laugh Love Lindy with Bill and Trooper for Witcher Family of Wraiths. You will find me on Fridays over on Wandering DM for some Cyberpunk Red. And then you can find me on my channel with Trooper on Saturdays for the Regiment. But other than that, check my Twitter because I just post where I'm going to be, all the wonderful, fabulous, fun people I get to hang out with, like these fine folks, and all the fun things we get to do. Till next time.
Thank you very much. And Trooper! Oh my god, you're a Martell I don't hate. I don't know how this has happened.
It's because I'm in the north, so clearly it's, I've moved different places to see new things, dancing in big halls. I'm Trooper SJP. You can find Trooper SJP on Twitch, where Fridays at 7 I run a French resistance campaign that's gritty and World War II and all that is happening 7 p.m. Eastern. Also, you can find me at Love Laugh Lindy on Wednesdays for The Witcher. We'll be starting back up again, I think, in a week or so. Also, Fridays on Love Laugh Lindy's channel at 1 p.m. Eastern for Aether's Walkway, which is a sci-fi game, and I'm a YouTube. I'm a blogger. I'm a live streamer in that game, and as it is, and of course Saturday the Regiment over at Praxis channel, and here on Mondays, every Monday forever at 3 p.m. for the most amazing Game of Thrones game, and I'm just gonna say it was so wholesome, but I don't know, everybody. I just feel like there are things happening. Things. That's all. Suspicious things. I'm suspicious. I feel like things are happening. That's all. Yeah, where were the Flints?
Good, as you should be. Where are the Flints? Who knows?
Yeah.
I've just been messaged here that Johnny has an extra thing before I do my thing. So what is it, Johnny?
Yeah, so I typically always play comedic characters, and today I was like, okay, I have to be a teen angst, boy, etc. And I was like, you're not going to make any jokes, you're not going to do anything funny, and so I had to hold this in the entire show, and I thought of it like right as we went live, and I was like, Mariona, cat, and then I never said it. So I just wanted to say that to the group, and that's all. That's all I had to say. Okay, bye.
Okay, thank you, Johnny. All right, as for me, I'm Susie, otherwise known as Susanna Grace. I'm a variety streamer. I've been on this channel for ages now, but I do video games, I do art streams, I do tabletop RPGs. You can find me all over the internet at Susanna Grace, as it's spelled up there. I'll be here every Monday for the North. I'm on Follow Black Cats every Thursday for After the Fire, which is a kind of a sister campaign in the South, in the Red Mountains. So please do tune in for that. That's at 3 p.m. Eastern for more Game of Thrones actions. Other than that, I stream all the time on my channel where I do like a lot of cowboy RP at the minute. So tune in for that. But once again, thank you all so much for watching. And please don't go anywhere because we have a show coming up right after this one. We have got Rest in Pieces featuring Perception Studios. So don't go anywhere. Take care, everybody. See you next week.
It is a terrible thing when brother takes up arms against brother. The lands in the south run red with the blood of kings and their kin, whilst to the north the winds carry the bitter chill of war. Winter is coming, say the Starks, but they say nothing of the tempest that already dwells within their lands, a storm centuries in the making. Summer will end soon enough, and childhood as well. A sister lost, a brother returned, a family changed. In a time of turmoil, can they trust their allies? Can they trust their family? The North remembers, and the children of House Braddock cannot forget.